Hey, how's everyone doing? I am wearing a jacket because if I take it off, the green screen doesn't work. Watch, I'm gonna like unzip this a little bit and watch, like the green screen is gonna do it. Maybe it'll work now. But good to see you here, Jennifer and Lita and Cameron and Sarah and Aaron. The green screen is like, it doesn't work. You should ask Terry Higgins. I turned it on, I was like, what's going on? And now it's craziness. But MewBot is here, so let's throw out some points. And what are we gonna do today? What work are we going to do? You name it. We'll start doing it. What work should we do? Did you go do the roadblock police question with the percent of cars? What chapter is that? What chapter is that? Chapter 10 quiz. The chapter 10 quiz is a tough one because it's a bunch of random stuff. The roadblock, are they stopping like every certain car on that? The roadblock. Got my coffee. Trying to log into my Pearson. The quiz, people are saying. We're logging in here, starting up this quiz. Everyone have a good weekend. I only watched the first half of the Bama game. I spelled my name right. Quiz, people are saying quiz. Chapter 10 quiz is annoying. It really, really is. It's tougher than it should be. We'll enter the start-in bonus later tonight, so start early on it. The first half was better than the second. I totally agree. I kind of kept up with it. We were moving and stuff, and saw what happened. I saw. You're saying it's a police question, is it? We will go find that question. So what does it say? How does it start out? My dogs got into some dark chocolate. Oh no, they got to the. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I am sorry to hear that. Hope your dogs are doing all right. Yeah, chocolate for dogs is not the best. It is. There's a police question they're finding out. Good to hear. As you might know, my wife is a veterinarian, so she deals with stuff like that. What is the start of the police question? There are so many of these questions, and they change wording. So, what is the start of the police question? So, what is the start of it? It's the very start. Oh, gosh. Here I see police question. What is the start of it? State police set up a roadblock. And it's for you, it's question number what out of what? For you, it's question number what out of what? Because I might have to find it that way. I'm looking for it right here, right now. And can you tell me, can we do the food safety? Actually, I think I just saw that one. I found food safety, okay. I'm literally on food safety right now. So let's do food safety. And then we will do the police one next. We'll find it. They changed the versions of this a lot. So if you're here, you get to get your questions on 4 out of how, well, I can find it with that. Okay, so let me put this timestamp. Thank you so much, Sarah, right there. We'll throw some big points here in a second. That helps me find the questions because they change the wording and then it's hard to find it. So the first one we're doing right here is Stat 201, Chapter 10 quiz, food-safety factors. Let's go do it. Here we go. So we have food safety inspectors visit poultry farms unannounced and take samples of a day's worth of eggs to test for contamination. If the samples are found to contain dirt, antibiotics, unsuited for human consumption, or other foreign materials, the eggs will be destroyed. They throw them against the nearest house. The farm will be regularly inspected until purity is restored. Okay, so when you think about this, what do they want to understand here? I know the answer is on the bottom of the screen here, but just tell me they want to understand what? So the population is everything they want to understand. So what do they want to understand when they go to the farm to test a day's worth of eggs? Do they want to understand a day's worth of eggs? What do they want to understand? So just think, like, put in your own words, what do they want to understand? What do they want to understand? And then we're going to do the state police next. What do they want to understand? Don't worry about the answer here. Just think about your own words. What do these food inspectors want to understand? Like in your own words, the population of interest would be what? In your own words, what is the population of interest? We'll wait here for an answer. We got some answers. We're going to throw some points. So if you're talking, you get those points. Let me get some points right here. My question is about the farms with beans, but they want to understand the farms that produce eggs. Yep, it'll change. Yep, so these questions change randomly. Depend just all the time. They don't want you are correct. They want to understand the purity of eggs, but the purity of eggs is not the population. The purity of eggs is the what. So they want to understand all eggs probably at that farm. So they want to understand poultry farms that produce eggs. That's what they want to understand. What they want to understand, because not understanding all eggs, because eggs come from elsewhere than these poultry farms. The purity of eggs is the parameter, correct. So the purity is what they want to understand, and the eggs is going to be, well, the purity won't be the sample. The eggs they take will be the sample, and the eggs on the farm that day, like the eggs they could take that day, would be the what. So we're just reviewing terms right here. The eggs they could take that day are the what. The eggs they could take that day would be what? Like the eggs available, not the population. The eggs they could take that day would be the what? And I need to fix my alpha after this question. I moved it around and it's causing problems. You see me disappear a little bit. The eggs they could take that day. The sample frame, great job right there. And good job reviewing the terms. The eggs they have access to take that day would be the sample frame. The eggs at poultry farms are the ones they want to understand. The eggs they take are the sample, and the purity of eggs is the parameter of interest. So we're going to look at the answers right here in review. The next question says, identify the parameter of interest. It's how pure are the eggs. They word it weirdly. It might be like hard to understand, but they're trying to measure some sort of purity as I blink in and out of existence. So some sort of, it's not clear, and that's what I hate about these questions, why they always kind of trick me, because like this, it's not clear. It's something to do with the purity of the eggs, but that's what they're trying to understand. I wish they never wrote questions like this, or they just said, or if they just didn't even say anything. They said they're going to inspect eggs, and then they never even said anything about like what they're collecting on, because they might be looking at the percent that have dirt, the percent that have some sort of antibody or antibiotic that's not supposed to be in it. It is a little bit unclear, but they're measuring those things, so that's what they want to understand. The test will be super clear right there. I'll show you some points. That's why I'm doing it this way, because the test will be very clear, and you'll know what the parameter of interest is. Identify the sample frame. It'd be all eggs, finish my sentence right here, that they have what to sample on that day. I know, that's why we're doing it this way, and we're going to knock out a whole bunch here, so keep naming the questions. We're doing the police question next. Question 4, all access to samples. So we should see right here, all eggs produced at the poultry farm that day, because they go that day. So any eggs on the farm that day they could theoretically take. Now remember, the sample frame is not what they take, it's what they have access to take. They walk onto the farm and they look at the eggs. So the eggs would be the ones, or the sample frame would be the ones they could take. Where can someone find that jacket? Thank you so much. Hey, changed it up. Well, we need to, I don't know, Colin, swing by and maybe I'll see if there is one, or I don't know. I have to look. I don't have access to these, but maybe I could we could look, maybe there's I haven't seen you forever, but you're coming down for homecoming, but maybe, I owe you for all the work you've done, all that stuff. You're a former student now, so if I can buy you one, I might be able to do that. So let's find out. Let's meet up and swing by, because we want you rocking some Haslam gear, or I want you to. So I'm going to see if I can maybe buy you one if there's, if it's in the UT Vol shop. I wish it's in the UT Vol shop. They should sell Haslam stuff there. I wish they did. Swing by. We'll try to figure out. Thank you so much, Colin, right there. And we're setting up some stuff, or trying to, so good stuff right there. Identify the samples. 1 day's worth of eggs. So you know what's interesting? They are going to take the full sample from the sample frame. They're going to take everything right there. So 1 day's worth of eggs produced by the poultry farm is what they are sampling. That is their sample right there. Identify the sampling method. It's kind of just a cluster of 1 day's worth of eggs. Convenience. I don't love that answer. I guess they're just walking onto the farm and grabbing all the eggs they can and leaving. It's not really specified that it's random. Identify what group, if any, was left out. Choose the correct answer below. No group was left out because they're just walking onto the farm and taking all the eggs. Identify what potential sources of bias. Well, think about this. If they're just walking onto the farm and grabbing all the eggs that day, is there really any bias? Are they going to get bad eggs? They just show up unannounced and they're like, We're taking all your eggs from today and seeing if there's problems. Would there be any bias? I could think of one way, but I don't think they're going to get into that. And that's the problem, is you can always think of a way. So we'll see what the crowd says right here, what class says. I do have a way, but I think we're kind of good. I think we're good, but if that day is like a weird day, like maybe it's not representative of the rest of the days because it's kind of a cluster sample on one day, they're going to say there's no clear sources of bias. You'd have to assume every day is random, and every day is not random. It might be during a time where chickens are more likely to be sick, or you might have just given them an antibiotic and it might still be in their system. So you might say this farm has a huge problem, and you would say, well, this day is not representative because it's not a random sample. You came at this time. So I'm not a huge fan of this question, but does that help out for yours? We're going to do the police question next. Let's do that police question here. Some of these questions are better, some of them are worse. That was a meh question. So we're going to go find that police question right here. Cameron, good job on those points. And we got some new levels, I think. So here we go. It is either this question or the next one is the police one. Okay, well, that's an easy one. Must be the next one that's the police one. It's question number 4? Or do we randomize the order of these? I'm trying to find that police question. How does the police question start? Trying to get to the Dragonborn level. I love it. How does that police question start out? Because I am not finding it. Where is it? A little chill music here. Subjective question. I know, right? I love the math stuff. Chapter 12 is all math. It's not number 4 on the homework, is it? It's not number 4 on the homework, right? All the people at office hours are maxed out, yeah. Because it's like extra class. You get extra points for being at office hours, so you get a lot of points for being here. And I really appreciate it. It's being at office hours helps you get all the points and helps you get all the knowledge. I really think my regular attendees to office hours have really good points. State police said it's on the quiz, right? It's on the quiz? Oh my God. How is it? What are the options on it? Could you maybe email me a screenshot of it? Like, email me a full screenshot of it because I can't find it. I'm gonna like go to the question banks. Thank you, Sarah. And they usually find a problem with about 17% of cars. So that's what they're trying to understand, probably what percent of cars have a problem. Testing for the population parameter of interest, etc. Yeah, and that should be towards the end. Does it start out with for the following report about a statistical study identify? It doesn't start with that saying at the start, right? You're saying it's question 4, so that's supposed to be in this group. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's supposed to be over here. I'm going to regenerate each of these questions like 6 times and see if I can get it to appear by regenerating them. Okay. I'm here to be this one. If anyone has another question, let me know. About Josh filling his car? Yeah, I think I found that one, and then we'll find that state police one. Josh filling his car is a good one. That's another problem I have with this one, is they changed the questions so much, because I'll look for a question and I've seriously had the hardest time finding like a question. And that's on the quiz, but nice job, Jennifer. Wow. is it, change the name of it. Okay. So let's look at this right here. Here we go. Let's go to the Mark filling up his car. Same thing right here. And then we're going to find that police one. We will find it. Okay, let's go do this question. Chapter 10 quiz. Occasionally, when Mark, here we go. Okay, so we have a question right here about filling up your car. He figures out how many miles per gallon his car got. He wrote down these results after 4 fill-ups in the past months. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'll check it out here, and I really appreciate that. We'll find it. We will find it. So when you think about this right here, the parameter of interest is what he wants to understand. So what does Mark want to understand? Don't even worry about the question. He wants to figure out what. Like he's filling up his car. He used the last 4 fill-ups to calculate the mean of his last 4 fill-ups, which would be his sample. So what is his parameter of interest? What does he want to understand? We're just trying to understand the words right here. So what does he want to understand? Now I'm back normal. What does he want to understand? The miles per gallon of his car. How many miles per gallon does his car get in a global sense? He's not really concerned about the last 4 fill-ups. The last 4 fill-ups are just his what? To get an estimate of the truth. So if you look right here, the last 4 fill-ups just give him an estimate of the truth because the last 4 fill-ups are his what? Well, he does find out the average, great job, leader, right there, from his sample, right? So he makes a sample, he looks at the last 4 fill-ups, and then he estimates from that the true mean miles per gallon. Like how much is his average miles per gallon for his car? Now that's just for his car. So what do we have right here? His results might be biased because think about this. What if he has been traveling only during the winter time and the roads are iced over and he has to travel really slowly? Then that might not be the true average for his car because he's traveling during times where he's not getting the same miles per gallon. Or what if, he got stuck in traffic like 5 times this week, but it was because like UT had a big game or something and everyone was traveling in or out. So with that, you might say, well, that's not typical mileage for him. So it might be biased and we might not get a real good result. So remember, we want a representative sample. So his last 4 fill-ups, or maybe he traveled cross country and he got better mileage. You have to think, how could this be biased? Down here at the end, the EPA would try to estimate the mean for all cars of that make and model. So the EPA might be wondering how well all cars do, and they could take samples from different cars in different states and try to get a better estimate across all cars. So they might be interested in a different population. So good question right here. This is a good one, a little bit more of a basic one. We're going to go take a look at the screenshot here and find that police question. Let's go find it. Here we go. Do you have that? I think, did you email the question? Let's see. We will find that question. How could it be this hard to find? Oh, I might have found the version that makes it. Got the managers at a large company, but that's not changing to police. I've seen a police question before. I sent it on Discord. Okay, let me go look on Discord. Is it? I think it's in the 201 chat, right? All right, here we go. Is that there? I see it right there. For the following report about a statistical study. Exactly. So it's okay, got it. So it has to be one of these at the end. Is it seriously the food safety is going to change to that? I will find it. I will find it. We'll have it found in just a second here. Looks to not be this food safety question that's going to convert to it. Just change like the tiniest bit. No! What in the world? I'm about to go. I know, I changed up the music. You do the U.S. Consumer Magazine with adult subscribers. Yes, let's do that one. I want to find this one question. Sarah, we will find it. U.S. Consumer. We will find that question when Bobby fills up his car. Oh, found it. Ooh, this might be it. This might be the one that will change over to it. Okay, that's really good. Okay, so I found it, and I bet you I'm going to change versions of this, and I bet it'll become the police question. Okay, so let's go do this over here, and let's put the timestamp. 21:53, Stat 201, chapter and quiz. And a U.S. consumer. Let's go check this out. Here we go. Okay, so we got a U.S. consumer magazine. And what is the population of interest? Let's read the question. The U.S. consumer magazine asked all adult subscribers whether they had used alternative medication treatments, and if so, whether they had benefited them. For almost all of the treatments, approximately 22% of those who responded reported cures of substantial improvement in their condition. So who do they want to understand? Just think in general, who do they want to understand? The population of interest, or population of interest is just extra words you can add on. The answer is not on the screen, but think, who do they want to understand? I bet you, Sarah, this is going to be, when we change it, it's going to be this one. I have a feeling. Who do they want to understand? But no, they're asking, well, the question is, so Aaron, they're asking people, have you used alternative medicine? That's the question. So that's more parameter related, right? Who do they want to understand? The population will be, and this is good review, Aaron, good review. Go through 8,000 points, get all those points. We'll put in some new levels here too. Who do they want to understand? Who do they want to understand? The population is just, what group are we trying to understand? Like, nothing about them yet. Nothing about them. So just what group do we want to understand? I think it's just adults. I think it's just adults. I think that's all it is just adults. They want to understand adults. Like, they're going to ask adults. You see right here, unclear, but probably adults. I do agree it's a little bit unclear, but it just sounds like adults. They're just asking adults, have you used alternative medicine? If you look at this right here, they asked adult subscribers, so don't even worry yet what they asked them, because it's just who do they want to understand right now. So when you look at the population, you don't even go further than like, well, who are we talking to? What group are we looking at? And we're just looking at adults. So adult subscribers is probably, it might be the next one on here. The parameter of interest is what they want to understand, which is the alternative medicine. Have you used it? Has it helped you? So probably something like, has alternative medication helped you? The proportion have used and benefited from. Like we said, have you used or benefited from alternative medicine? That is what they are trying to understand. Now the sample frame, this is a good one. What is the sample frame? Remember the definition, the group of people or things you have access to sample from. So what is the sample frame? This is a really good one, which you should be able to identify in this question like that. The subscribers, because that's who they can sample from. They only have access to sample from the subscribers, so all subscribers of that magazine are the ones. And I guess you could say adults, like to be specific, the adult subscribers of that magazine. What is the sample for the study? The people who whatted to the question they were sent. Like you could send it out to a bunch of people and then they don't respond. So that is convenient, right? It does sound a little bit like convenience bias, like they're reaching out to people, especially if it's like a alternative medicine magazine, then you're gonna get way biased results. So what is the sample right here? Very clearly the sample would just be the people who whatted. The sample is what you have data from or on. Very clearly the sample is going to be what? People who whatted. Responded, yeah. Anyone who responded, so all subscribers who responded. Once again, don't look, we're gonna figure it out without the answers on the screen. We just wanna think through it and be like, what would the answer be? And then we see if we match it. What sampling method was used? Kind of voluntary sampling. Not simple random sample. It's kind of unclear. It's like unclearish, voluntary, convenience. Voluntary. There we go. I wouldn't have said cluster. I wouldn't have said systematic. I wouldn't have said stratified. convenience, but it is, I guess people with strong opinions are going to reply because if alternative medications really help you, like, oh, heck yeah, I'm going to reply to that. So you're doing voluntary bias sampling or voluntary sampling with voluntary bias. So that's the problem, is I would have been between those three. Not a great test question on that one. The rest of it's good. Was the sampling method random? Is voluntary sampling considered random? I'll list off your random sampling methods. Simple random sample, stratified, systematic, cluster, multi-stage. The answer is no. These last three down here, convenience, involuntary, and unclear, that's where you're reaching to the realm of not random. Was anyone left out of this study? Not really. I guess people don't subscribe to the magazine, but not really. Those who are not subscribed to the magazine, so I would have picked that. So we reached out to people who probably didn't use alternative medications, but I said this, those who didn't subscribe, so I would have picked that. I was like, not really, but those who are not subscribed to the magazine, and it really matters what this magazine is. What type of bias is evident in the sample? So obviously, if we did voluntary sampling, obviously there's what kind of bias. If we did voluntary sampling, we have different biases like response bias, non-response bias, undercoverage bias, voluntary and checkout where we review those. So what kind of bias would there be? What kind of bias would there be, obviously? Voluntary response. And there might be a combo here. We've got voluntary and undercoverage. And if you notice, they hint at this with the other thing. We undercovered people who don't subscribe to the magazine. So that came from, who was left out. So they actually do a good job of mentioning that if you do voluntary sampling, you get voluntary response bias. If you leave out a group, you've undercovered. So nice job right there. That's a good part of this question. If you see the answers and you're like, oh, undercoverage bias is when we leave a group out. So obviously undercoverage because non-subscribers. And I guess if there was response bias in the way they asked the question, like, alternative medicines are great, they can help people, and we want to know who's been helped. If you've been helped, we want your response about how great they've helped you. And probably going to get a more voluntary from that, but yeah, non-response is when people who don't respond different than those who do respond. So yeah, and police question, show me police. Come on. I've seen it literally change what the question says. I'm going to do 3 more generations. I could show you, like, I cannot find the police question in here. Oh my gosh. Where is that question? Hoping to learn what issues may resonate. Oh, wait. Oh, we found it. Campaign director, upcoming election. Yep. Does that have like hoping to learn or something, or for the following report? Does it start with that? Does it start with any of those extra little bits there? Little bits. Yes, it does. What does it start with? And I'll find it. These are tricky. State police. Okay, so check this out. The reason I couldn't find this is literally it changes. Like, look, hoping to learn, the EPA, hoping to learn. Now I'm never going to find it again. This is why I could. There it is, but I want to do the completed version. I should not have done anything. Someone's going through it. This is why I couldn't find it. There we go. Okay, we got it. All right. So here we go. Thank you, Sarah, for asking about this. We now have it on the screen. Let's check it out. State police set up a roadblock to estimate the percent of cars with up-to-date registration, insurance, and safety inspection stickers. They usually find problems with about 13% of cars they stop. So then the population again is what do they want to understand? So what do they want to understand? I mean, it's on the screen. So think about this. The state police are out there trying to understand what. Now, it's not what they want to understand. You're welcome, Sarah. Glad we found it. Yeah, it's just crazy. There's a bunch of these with different versions. And I think we randomized the order of the question because it wasn't in where number 4 would be for me. So what do they want to understand? They want to understand what's is. Be careful, not like the specific thing they want to understand, but like what group do they want to learn about? The group they want to learn about is the population of interest. I know it's on the screen. But the population of interest is just what? Like they're trying to learn something about this group. And we haven't said what that something is. We will in a second. Cars, you got it right there, Cameron. They're trying to learn about cars. What is the parameter of interest? This one's super clear. This one's super duper duper clear. What are they trying to learn about? Like, what is the parameter of interest? So they want to learn about cars, and then the parameter is the thing they want to understand. Do you have up-to-date tags? So do you have up-to-date tags? Right there. Pretty easy right there. Good stuff. What is the sample frame? Now, be specific. When would they be able to stop a car? When would they be able to stop a car? When would they be able to stop a car? They might get specific on this. I think I know what it is. I think I know what the answer is from doing this multiple times. Cars that are driving on that road. Yeah, if it's on the highway, any cars on that road are cars they have access to sample. So Cameron, excellent work. Any cars on that road, they have access to sample. So all cars on that road with the roadblock would be cars they could theoretically stop. Other cars they wouldn't have access to. What is the sample? This is another easy one right here. Any car they stop. So any car they stop, that is the sample. Now I'm not lagging. I'm gonna hardwire these cameras. While it's driving? While what's driving? What sampling method was used? They're kind of doing a cluster at location, like they're taking all cars at a location. Not very specific, but they're kind of getting all cars in one spot. So they're taking a whole bunch in one spot. Little biased, especially if that is like a speed trap or something like that. So cluster at that location. Not like taking a whole bunch at one time. Is the sampling method random? Is cluster random? Remember, here's your random ones. Most of them are on the screen right now. Is cluster random? I don't love their answer. Multi-stage, cluster, systematic, stratified, simple, random. So I don't love their answer. They don't make it super clear, but I hate these ambiguous ones. Hence, I would be like, we would probably say cluster is random on the test. We won't be ambiguous on the test like this and be like, maybe it's random. Maybe. I don't know. They should be more clear about it. You can do a question about the local business attempting. Yeah, we try one. You got it. Who was left out of this study? It'd probably be different roads. It's a little unclear, but if there's other roads that weren't sampled, so yeah, local drivers that don't take this road. Like anyone who doesn't take this road, so that's what I was kind of getting towards. But once again, the unclear makes it a little bit harder of a question because, like, is it unclear? We're not sampling people who walk on the road. That's not of interest to us. You'd be like, well, we didn't get them. It's like, well, we're not interested in them. What type of bias is evident? Then if we leave out people who don't drive on this road, what kind of bias is there? Here's the biases to remember, have no cards with each. Response bias, non-response bias, undercoverage, voluntary, and convenience. So that's response, non-response, undercoverage, voluntary, and convenience. What do you think it is? Because they've alluded to this undercoverage, because we left out people who weren't on that road. None? Really? Really? Well, you see, look, here's the problem. If we chose undercoverage, we'd have to get something else. So it's almost like they don't want you to pick undercoverage because there's definitely not voluntary response bias. Like the cars that respond are more interested than the cars that don't respond. Doesn't even make sense. Response bias, the way in which we're checking registration with the questions impacts the answers, doesn't make sense. So I would have picked none here because it doesn't make sense to have undercoverage with those other ones. But here's the thing. You know what we're going to do? You were here for this. This is not today, Mob Pearson, because this is why I put the answers on the screen for these. We're doing a big 5,000 points. Remember, we're making some new levels here, but I think that's nonsense right there. Because, man, they're like, oh, we left some people out of the study, maybe. What kind of bias? No bias. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Chapter 10, least favorite. Let's go back to doing math again. So we'll get back to some math with Chapter 12. There'll be lots of math in Chapter 12. And it's very hard. Yellow page question. We got time for that, I think. It's very hard to get Chapter 12 wrong if you do the math right. What problem could there be generalizing this population of interest? Well, if the road we picked was not representative, that'd be a problem. Time, day, and location. It's almost like there's a what problem right here by going out at one time on one road. It's almost like there's a bias. I'm just going to sit here and drink until someone says the bias again. It's almost like going out at one time on one road has a certain bias. It's almost like there'd be a little bit of bias in going out at one time on one road. It might be. What kind of bias do you think there would be if we go out at one time on one road and think about how up-to-date registration is at that one time on that one road? I wouldn't say convenient. It's a little convenience. It's like it's easy to do. I agree, a little convenience. But do you think, like 10 p.m., there Abigail got it right there. Do you think 10 p.m. on a Friday night downtown is representative of all of Knoxville and the registration of all of Knoxville? If we're like, oh, we went out on Friday night at 10 p.m. in Knoxville and checked out the registration of cars, and we're going to then use that as our sample to say, what is the registration of Knoxville? You'd say that seems like you undercovered. You've got like Farragut, you've got, West Knox, East Knox, North, South Knox. You just went to the city and did it at one time. That is undercovering. You need a representative sample. So yeah, this question should have really went to undercoverage, because one time, one location is probably not going to be representative of that city. Oh my gosh, Yellow Pages question. Let's go do it. 5 p.m. on I-40 represents Knoxville in a nutshell. Everyone travels so slowly. I like that right there. Aaron, let's make that a MuBot quote of the day. We're going to go find that Yellow Pages question. Where is the thing? Aaron, you now have MuBot quote. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Always makes my day to see everybody here. Move. I'm going to move MuBot back over here. Quote number 401. Oh, we can't do the blue smiley faces. It won't do it. Those new faces. Okay, so it's quote 141. And then let's go do that Yellow Page question. Statistics sometimes makes my mind extrapolate. But yeah, those new smiley faces don't work with MuBot. But they're the coolest ones. Yellow Pages, and I think we have another one after that. Does the Yellow Pages start out with a like a preamble? I got 401, 400 and 401. Oh, you did! You do have those quotes. What's the preamble to the Yellow Pages one? I think another one. It's part B? Oh, it's like a multi-tier question. Cops are mad about it. 70th employee. Can we still do the one about the campaign director for the upcoming election? Yeah, let's find that one. We're going to find that one first, right? We'll find campaign director. Actually, I think we just saw it. I think it was the same as the other one. We have to like permutate the question. We will find it. Okay, found it. And then we got to find that Yellow Pages one. We're doing the hardest ones. The question is named consider each. Oh, thank you so much, Aaron, right there. That helps a lot to find it. Yep. I mean, giving me these little preambles is huge, because that's how I look for them. Hoping to learn. Let's go find out. We do hope to learn. Okay. So hoping to learn about what issues may resonate with voters in the coming election. The campaign director for a gubernatorial candidate randomly selects 4 blocks. So it sounds like they're going to talk to everyone on that block from each of the state's election districts. Staff members go there and interview all residents they can find. The residents were asked to select the 5 most important issues from a prepared list. Okay, so they're taking 4 blocks and talking to everyone in that block. This is a great test question because it's super clearly what sampling method. They're taking 4 random blocks and sampling everybody within those blocks. This is cluster sampling. So this is 100%. It's already non-responsive. It could be not, I don't know. It didn't say anyone about anyone not responding, but this is cluster sampling. So they want to understand the voters in their state because that's what gubernatorial candidates do. And what is the population parameter of interest? It's what are the 5 most important things to you? It's a little unclear. Once again, love these questions when the answer is a little unclear, but it's the 5 most important things. Most important issues. Okay. Did it have an unclear? I have an unclear at the end, right? Really? You make me choose between those? But it says right here, they're trying to understand the 5 most important things from a list of things. So the most important things. What is the sample frame? Well, who could they speak to? Anyone who votes, right? Anyone in the state. So anyone in the state, I would ignore them. Well, yeah, that's non-response. You're right. Oh, there might be some non-response in this if you don't talk to them. Not talking to pollsters is non-response bias. So it would be everybody in the state is non-response. What is the sample? The people who wutted to the pollsters. So the sample would be the people who wutted to the pollsters. The sample would be the people who wutted to the pollsters. Sample is always this. Sample is just going to be the people who wutted. Anyone who responded, gave them a response. Oh wait, what sample? What is? Well, we already said. Let me see what they're saying right here. I'm about to email my Pearson about this. I'm not even joking. No, I'm seriously gonna email my Pearson. Because I think they literally have an error on this question. I'm not even joking. This is not stratified. Because in stratified, you acknowledge differences. Like, I am seriously going to say this is a theoretical error. That really makes me unhappy about this chat. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a huge oof. We need that oof sound effect. But a lot of people confuse stratified and cluster. And I hopefully am not one of those people. But when you do stratified, you acknowledge a difference and then sample with each strata to represent. So if the districts were strata, you would then sample from each of the districts and sample representative to the size of that district. But if you're using them as clusters, I know, right? Oof, Miss Senator. That is not really, look at this. Why are they saying this? Oh, they're saying the samples are already what are they saying? With each district being represented by 4 blocks. The campaign director for Governor Random selects 4 blocks from each of the state's election districts. So, oh, they're saying it's a multi. Oh, no, they're right. Oh my gosh. My brain, I need to finish my coffee. Okay. So it is a multi-stage, and here's why. 1984. Well, I'm wrong because I misread the question. I thought they were just taking 4 districts. They're going, here's what it looks like visually. Like, let me draw it out for you because I see it now. And I see that they're right. It could have been a little more clear though. And then I would have got it right. Okay. So here's what's going on. If we look at Tennessee, really, Tennessee's like the easiest state to draw, and I goof that up. There's Tennessee. Tennessee, best state to draw. So if we look at Tennessee, and here's Tennessee right here with its districts, because that's how you should make districts. Just evenly divide the map, right, and put the same amount of people as you can. But don't do some weird sort of district like this, that all ridiculous district. What are you doing? Oh, gerrymandering. And so with this right here, now we look at it, good old trapezoid. And so now we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inside of each of these, we take 4 blocks and we sample everybody. Does everyone see this? This is actually a good question. I stand corrected. I just misread it. The stratification is in the blue because the differences are the different whats in Tennessee. 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 Like if you look at the views of Tennessee over here and the views of Tennessee over here and down towards Chattanooga and Kingsport, and I don't know, I know Memphis is over here about-ish, but I don't know what the top corner of Tennessee is over there. I know like Chattanooga, South, Kingsport over there, different districts, right? Like Sullivan, wherever Sullivan is, or Knox and all that. So there's different views, right? Like if people asked, is Bob Corker still? I think Tim took over for him. If you ask people, do you think Bob Corker was a good senator? If you said, do you think Bob Corker is a good senator? Why do you think these 4 blocks down here might have a different view? Does anyone know politics besides me? If you said, do you think Bob Corker is a good senator? Is Tim Burchett? I think he took over his seat, maybe. Blackburn took over someone else's. Why do you think down there, they might say, Bob Corker, do you think he was a good senator? Because before being senator, Bob Corker was mayor of Chattanooga. So with that right there, or do you think Haslam was a good governor? Well, Bill Haslam was, mayor of Knoxville before he was governor of Tennessee. So you want to take different districts, and then each of these 4 blocks would be a what within it. Because we're going to talk to everyone in these blocks. So do you see it now? The districts are where we are acknowledging the differences, and then the clusters are the blocks. Each of the blocks, they're literally blocks. Who thinks they understand that the stratification is on districts, because each of the districts is going to have 4 blocks taken from it, so it'll be representative, and then the clusters are the blocks, because we're taking everyone within these 4 blocks, and we're going within the strata. So this is a multi-stage. This is a very well done multi-stage and a good representative sample, because think about it. Would this, if we took 4 blocks from everywhere, you get it now? Good job. This is a good example. If we took 4 random blocks from each district, and we'll just pretend these are random, would this be a good way to understand Tennessee? If you took 4 random blocks from each of these, would you get a good view of politics in Tennessee? Would it be like representative at that point? If you took 4 random blocks from each district? Yep, because then you wouldn't overcover any groups. You could be like, we went across all of Tennessee, went to each district, and took 4 random blocks. So you're stratifying by district to make sure you represent them well enough. And then you're taking blocks to kind of speed up the process. And the clusters are where you take a whole bunch at once. Once again, in cluster sampling, I just went straight to that, taking all at once, because that's very obviously clustering. And I was like, oh, look, it's got cluster sampling, but then I didn't see that they stratified by district. And right there, what sample was the sample? They are going stratify within district, but it's a multi-stage using strata with the districts and cluster sampling within each district. This is super duper random. This is a very good sampling method. Was anyone left out? The staff members who interviewed all the residents they can find. So anyone they could not find, people who don't have homes, homeless people. So yeah, they're that. What type of bias would there be? Undercovered, all they could find, like I said, homeless people. That's a really good question. That's something you would understand. This is a great question. It is a good example of a multi-stage. So definitely check out this question right here to understand how multi-stage is done. And you would kind of realize maybe you didn't get everybody, but you probably did a good job. What else is there? We have one more, the Yellow Pages one, right? And starts out with a preamble of consider each of the following situations below. Consider each of the following situations below. And great job, everybody. Consider, here we found it. Got just enough time here. We did a lot of the toughest questions today, and we complained about Matt Pearson, so it's a good day. We complain, and we get stuff done. Are people doing pretty well on this quiz? It is a tough one. Okay, here we go. We want to know the percent of local doctors who do not accept Medicare patients. So population would be local doctors, and parameter would be the percent who don't accept Medicare. We call offices of 50 doctors. So that's the Yellow Pages would be our sample frame, because we could have called any doctor in the Yellow Pages. The 50 we call would be our sample. And this is sort of, it's going to have a little bit of bias if someone's not in the Yellow Pages. So that's got problems. Let's see what they ask. So the sample method is not appropriate. The method will probably result in undercoverage. as those doctors who don't purchase Yellow Pages ads, because Yellow Pages is where you pay to go. So if you didn't purchase a Yellow Page ad, randomly selected from Yellow Page ads. Oh yeah, it's ads. Haha. So they're trying to get our business. We want to know the percent of local businesses anticipating their stocks to fall in the upcoming month. We randomly select a page in Yellow Pages and call every business listed there. But it doesn't say ads. It doesn't say ads. Man, this is like some old school stuff with Yellow Page ads. So it doesn't say the ads. And this is sort of a cluster method on one page. It sounds okay-ish. It's not appropriate. The sample method will probably result containing listings from only one of the two types of businesses, resulting in under coverage. Oh, because I guess, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so man, this requires a lot of knowledge about Yellow Pages. If you were to go to a certain page and it's like P for plumbing, you're going to call a lot of plumbers. So if you are trying to see if their stock will fall and you call like one page, it's going to be on that letter. So there's some sort of, you're going to under coverage right there. So they didn't even, yeah, it did say under coverage. Because you're going to go to like a page for like V for video games. I thought it could be non-responsive because you could call them and they would respond. But then it has to be the people who don't respond differ in the ways that those who do. My favorite example of like, let's say I were to call, or let's say undercoverage is always a weird one because it almost seems like voluntary, but the reverse. Because voluntary is when people want to respond, and undercoverage is when people don't respond. So imagine you were to call people and ask them if they have time for a 10-minute survey, and that's your only question. So you call people up, and your only question is, do you have time for a 10-minute survey? And so you say like, hey, we're here to do a survey, and people hang up, and your only question is, do you have time for a 10-minute survey? And so you say, hi, we're doing a survey, and they hang up. So the ones who do respond to you are probably the ones who have time to do it. There's a famous one like, it's the coffee one, like people ask people on a coffee break or something. But does that make sense, Aaron, right there to hopefully differentiate? Yeah, you got to know stuff about Yellow Pages for this one. This is such an old question. But I think the best way to think about undercoverage is you call people on the phone and you ask them if they have time for a survey. And the only question on the survey is, do you have time for a 10-minute survey? Because undercoverage bias is the people who respond differ in the way that they would respond if they are than those who don't respond. I also think like, but then it starts to get into voluntary a little bit. Imagine I'm holding up a sign that says like political survey. You're going to get voluntary bias because people with strong opinions are going to talk to me. Or if you walk up to someone and you don't even say what survey you're doing, you say, hi, I'd like to do a survey. It's about politics. And then you're wondering if people are politically engaged. Well, there is some voluntary bias because the people who care most are going to respond. But there's going to be non-response also because people who aren't politically engaged are going to be like, I don't want to take your survey, or I don't care for the survey. You might need to mark that, like what percent of people didn't respond, because then you'd have to like gauge, like probably they don't care. I just thought the first thing to come up with Yellow Pages is phone numbers or contacts. I know I got a random phone call. Line says is spam likely. I just don't answer. Yeah, exactly. And I'll only say hello to people on the phone. I won't say anything more. I don't want them to get like a voice profile. Man, with AI, man, things are getting crazy. Well, I think we did a lot of good stuff right here. These are tricky questions. A lot of times the test goes more for definitions. Like here, I'll end office hours with this. So you get a little bit of a bonus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reword a test question here. So I'm going to go look. Never say yes, never, or no, exactly. Don't do that because you don't want them recording that. Worse yet, you don't want them to get a voice profile of you. So like, man, the world has changed. The world is literally changing so much in the like last 2 to 5 years. Like I'm having a hard time even being like, okay, what's possible? If we have time, can we do the question about employees feeling satisfied? How does it start out? How's the employee satisfaction question go? What's the very start preamble of it? We might have just enough time. I never answer calls. What's the very start of the employee satisfied question? The managers of a large company. If I can find it, we'll do it here real quick. Thank you so much for asking. The managers of a large company. Oh, we found it. Here we go. Let's go do it. Thank you so much. Let's get it done. Thank you for being here. Thank you for starting early. I appreciate it. Stat tool. Oh, you're watching me go through all those. That's fine. the managers of a large company. Okay, here we go. So they leave a stack of surveys out in the employee cafeteria. Who's going to respond if they just, look, it's both of those. It's easy for them to do. And who's going to respond if they just leave a stack out and they're like, tell us what you think? So if they leave a stack out and then they, that's easy for them to do. That's like an easy thing to do is just be like, let's just leave a stack out and just let people respond. So then who's going to respond if they leave a stack out and they say, fill it out if you have some strong opinions? Who's going to respond? It's going to be the people with strong opinions. So leaving surveys out like that would be convenient. It's easy to do. And then voluntary means the people with stronger responses are going to be more likely to respond. Identify the problem with this design, select all that apply. I think I get confused. So response bias, a good example of response bias is when I say something like, do you think it's fair someone could go to war at 18 and they can't drink? So should we change the legal drinking age to 18? That's response bias because the question itself is pushing you in a direction. There's going to be, people are going to be biased in their response because they're going to be more likely to respond like, yeah, you know what? I think we should change it because you're right. The question should just be, should the legal drinking age be 18? So response bias is when the person giving the question or the way the question is worded pushes someone in a direction to be biased in their response, where voluntary is like, who wants to do a political science survey? And everyone's like, man, I love politics. Woo! I got some strong opinions. Or like comment cards at a restaurant. The people who fill out comment cards are the ones who are like really angry or really not or really happy. So that's voluntary, like you're gonna get just strong opinions. So voluntary response goes to strong opinions. Convenience goes to the way it's set up, like the fact that this is just put out on a table. You can still get voluntary response bias just by saying, hey, we're doing a survey about this. We're trying to talk to everybody. Even if you try to talk to everybody, the people who have stronger opinions are going to be more likely to respond. It's hard to like remove all bias because that's the thing. If you talk about this, you might be able to figure out ways they could be appearing, and that's usually what you do when you design a survey. Identify problems with the proposed design. Lots of bias. It's a problem. We're going to probably say that right here. Lots of bias. I'm going to read off a test question or kind of convert it. Yeah, that's right there. Ridiculous. What in the world? See, this is why I show the answers, because I don't know. That's ridiculous. I don't know. The test questions are not like this. I need to go through here this summer or this winter term and drastically redo this whole chapter 10 thing. Because I've kind of, it's been this way for about 2-ish semesters now, where it's been a little bit like this question. You're telling me it's a convenience sample and we can't mark this? This design would be convenience sampling. And that's not a right answer? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to end off right here by looking at a question. I need somebody to pick a number 1 through 10. And I'm going to reword a question right here. It's not going to be the exact question on the test, but give me a number 1 through 10. Number 1 through 10, number 6. I'm going in here, going to the quiz, or the test. 6 is the number right here. I'm going to the test. I'm going to chapter 10, sample surveys, and there are true, false, multiple choice, and there is a word problem 1. Let me look at the word problem 1. Those are longer. Like, what is the parameter of interest? Literally looks like my Pearson right there. And we make it a lot more clear. I'm going to go to multiple choice right here. I'm going to reword number 6. If there is 6 of them, there is a total of 11. And number 6 right here. Okay, so all right, so this is a rewording of one of the questions you could get. It's not the exact question, but there's not too many ways to do this. You ready? If you can answer this, you know. The registrar tries to figure out, tries to get a random sample of students. So they go and they generate random numbers and pick from it 30 different random students. What type of sampling method is this? The registrar goes and just generates random numbers from the list of all student IDs and picks 30 random student IDs. What sampling method is that? Simple random. That's it. Pick one more for the numbers 1 through 11. Like one more. We'll do 3. Because, I mean, I changed the whole context of the question right there. Of course, we're going to have a question about simple random sample, but question number 2. Okay. So let's say, like with that question where we went out at the road, if you remember earlier, we were observing 77. We were observing cars only at a specific time on the road, and we probably got too many like of one group of car or too few of one group of car. What kind of bias was there because we kind of got too much of one thing or too little of another? So what kind of bias is that? Where we went out and we go to Knoxville downtown at 7 p.m. on a Friday, and we say, like, is their registration accurate? And that'd be under coverage. So you can get too much because that would overcover. So if you overcover, you undercover. So it'd be under coverage. And then we have question number 7. Obviously, there's one about that. If you think our questions are harder than Pearson, you're wrong. You go out to the highway on Knoxville, and you take data on every 20th car that goes by. You are taking a what sample? You go out to the highway on Knoxville and you take data on every 20th car that goes by. Like literally the question is not much different than that. Like I'm not changing, the question's one sentence. It's something, something, something. This is an example of blank sampling, systematic. Question number 4. Okay, yeah, I've definitely done this one in class, I'll say that much. You go to classrooms around campus and generate a list of random classroom numbers. Be careful, don't overthink this. Just give us an A. You generate a list of random classrooms around campus and you select 10 random classrooms to go to and then do a census on each classroom. So you generate a list of all the classrooms, select 10 random classrooms, and then do a census on that classroom, taking data on every student. I said this word census is a very important cluster. So if you got all of those, we just did multiple choice. I reworded every question, but like I said, it's like, do you know the terms? Do you know what cluster is, stratified is, simple random samples, systematic? Do you know what a sample frame is, what a population is, what a parameter of interest is, what a sample is, what undercoverage bias is, response bias, non-response, convenience, voluntary? If you can name them off and then define them, you're good to go. So have your flashcards, practice up. That's old school, man. That's old school. I know memes. I know memes. So with that, we're done for today, or we'll be starting class here soon as I get delayed here. Bye for now, everyone. Bye! 5 hours. We've almost got these new intros ready. We're almost there.
This has been going for like 20 hours.
This ends now.